Claire was posing some questions to members of the panel. Claire, had you finished your questions?
Not yet. I had not. The other question I had for Mr. Opio as well was that carbendazim, which is an active ingredient in chariot, most farmers who use chariot to control tomato blight, some of them use Bavistin dry on flowers, particularly roses. Carbendazim is listed by the World Health Organization as highly hazardous. It is classified in group 1B as highly hazardous active ingredient. So are you disputing that information when you say that this information is not true, that those active ingredients, particularly carbendazim and permethrin, are not harmful to the environment, are not harmful to people? And when you look at why it is classified as highly hazardous, is that it has an effect on mutagenic. It has an effect on the reproduction systems of human beings. It has an effect on aquatic ecosystems, yet it is used to control, it is actually used as a fungicide, yes, on flowers, which we know roses are mainly grown in Naivasha. They use water in Lake Naivasha. So that means that this chemical has found its way into Lake Naivasha, into the water. And we know that it has been classified as 1B, meaning it has effects on the aquatic life in Lake Naivasha. It has effects on the people who are using it. So are you disputing these facts? And when you're disputing these facts, is there the information that was submitted by companies that are currently producing carbendazim in Kenya? And is the public allowed to have access to that kind of information? And where is that information?
Okay.
Thank you very much. Let me start by saying that dialogue is very important. And I'm surprised that Greenpeace could go to the extent of going to the public and even making petitions without making reference to the regulatory authority. To date, they have never approached PCPB. In PCPB, we have an open door policy. And I'm shocked and I'm surprised, and it's evident that they are highly ignorant of our requirements. And that's why maybe explains the approach they have taken. The registration requirements we have in Kenya are made in reference to FAO and OECD guidelines. When we talk of a technical information submitted, we require information on the physical chemical properties of the active ingredient and the formulated product. We require toxicological information, acute tox, what we call the 6-pack studies, acute oral, acute dermal, acute inhalation, skin irritation, skin sensitization, and eye irritation studies, which are done both on the active ingredient and the formulated product. We ask for chronic toxicity studies, that is on carcinogenicity, mutagenicity, neurotoxicity, teratogenicity. And these again are in line with those FAO and OECD guidelines. We also ask for information on the fate and behavior of the product in the environment. That means the fate and behavior in the air, in soil, and in the water. What it breaks down to, how long it takes to break down, and what it breaks down into. Because at times, those what we call metabolites could be even more of a toxicological concern compared to the active ingredient. And in cognizance that we need to protect our environment, we also ask for information on what we call ecotoxicology or ecological toxicology, where we ask for information on studies which are done on bees, earthworms, arthropods, soil microorganisms, birds, and fish.
Is that information in public domain, like she asked?
That's why I'm saying I'm shocked, because it's on the website.
For every single product? For
every single product, it's there on the website, what information that is required. Now, this information, these are detailed studies, and I think that was mentioned by the CEO AAK. It is summarized, the same information. is highly summarized, and the endpoints are put on the label of the product for the benefit of the user.
When he brings the product to you, do you as PCPB conduct your own test to confirm what he's presenting?
These tests, we confirm the efficacy of the product. Now, this is another point that again that the public needs to understand. The whole world, or the scientists in the world, agreed and came up with protocols that are used to determine the property of the products in accredited or certified laboratories, GLP certified laboratories, good laboratory practice, which are certified. What it means is that the studies that are done in accordance to those protocols, in those identified studies, are recognized worldwide and are not repeated. Please let me finish. Okay, so you find that the study, if it's done in the USA according to the same protocol, the EU will not repeat those studies. The protocols are identical, they're agreed on, and they'll accept those results. Likewise, another country will not repeat those studies. They are done once, and the other people has made the protocol is followed and identified, it is accepted. That's the internationally best practices. And as you said, we don't live in isolation. We follow that also. So it does not, there is no value. If you follow the same protocol, do the same test, you get the same, same results. Okay? Remember also, we don't want to, these tests are done on animals, and you don't want to use unnecessary, subject animals to unnecessary tests, because they're used and they're subjected at very high doses, and they die to get the values that you want.
I know Claire has a follow-up question, but before we get to...
Let me finish. You know, she has asked a question. You don't allow me to finish, eh? So that I explain it and put in the proper perspective. So in that concern, the protocols, the studies are not repeated, and that is the reason why they're not repeated, because we'll see they must be done in the accepted protocols, and the results are accepted worldwide. If it's done in the EU, the USA will accept it, Australia will accept it, Canada will accept it, Kenya likewise will accept it. Okay? Now let me continue with part of her questions. What she has, it's only fair that I respond to them also on some of the products that she's asked about. And we go back to what I'd said earlier on in reference, and remember what I said, the EU changed their criteria. They changed the goalposts. By virtue of changing the goalposts, you have different categorization products. That fact they have never spoken about. And they are very silent about it.
Briefly. We'll come back to you. No. We just need to hear from some farmers briefly. We will come back to you. We have some farmers on standby in Nakuru County with Bridget Ngana to chip into this conversation. And Bridget, what are the farmers saying about pesticides on that end?
Well, it's a conversation that is also important to be had in this part of the country. Nakuru being known as an agricultural town, that actually is the economic activity that led to the setting up of this town. So we've come to the heart of it all, and this is where most farmers usually come to get the pesticides from. And we're going to be speaking with the people, because they say they do speak with the farmers on the kinds of pesticides they should use. There is a lot of controversy if they are environmentally friendly, and also if they're also good for the health of the people. But I'm going to be speaking with Daniel Mwangi. He's going to just give us a brief on why we're having this conversation at this time. Thank you so much. Welcome on NTV. Just give us a brief on why is it important for us to know about pesticides, and what is the education you're having with farmers as far as the safety of pesticides are concerned in the growing of crops.
Thank you for hosting us. Definitely pesticides, and it's a big issue in crop protection, and there has been a lot of debate and a lot of stories going around, some true, some not true. But one challenge we're having is we are not able to give the right facts to the farmers. So as distributors and agents of agrochemical companies, we are agents directly to the farmer. One thing we're insisting is the right information we are getting is on the product label. So it's one thing we are pushing for the farmers. Every time you're buying an insecticide, you're buying a herbicide or any other crop protection product, first and foremost, the basic information you should have is what is written on the label. What is the safety use of that product on the label? How many days, the pre-harvest intervals when you use it on the crops, how soon should you consume the product? That is the basic thing. The other thing also getting is a lot of training from from the companies which are also distributing the products. In terms, we have to push them and tell them now. We're having stories on ground, because like the issue for glyphosate, we've had it a lot. but we do not have the right facts. We talk about specific products for about specific glyphosate, yet there are other 10, 12 types of glyphosates in the market which people don't mention. So we are hoping so much that from the people who, the importers of the crops, of the pesticides, that they're able to do farmers training, either at ground, either also at our counters. So by the time we're actually distributing these things to the farmer, we're also able to give them the correct facts on that.
We're talking about you maybe working with the ones who produce and manufacture these pesticides, but just tell us, how do you educate farmers? You're the point of contact between these products and the farmers, so how do you engage them, and how many farmers do you deal with maybe on average in a day?
Yes, correct. We are actually the first point of contact with the farmers because we do both the retail and also to other stockists as agents. When a farmer comes, and most of the farmers come with the problems. We actually operate more like a hospital. They come with problems they would want to solve at their farm level. So as a company, first thing what we've done is our employees are actually agronomists. They're all graduates from the local universities. Then that makes sure that they advise from a professional point of view. With our stakeholders and our partners who have given us the products to distribute for them, is we hold farmers training in conjunction with the distributors. At this farmers training is where people are really insisted on the safe use of pesticides. At the counter level, directly to the farmers, we insist so much on, can you read the product label? What does the product label say? The product label will give you the first guidance. You have to wear protective clothing. Do you have to, when you use it on your crop, how soon should you harvest your crop? Yeah, is it a public health? Is it a crop protection? Is it a livestock product? Basically, there's a challenge that you see people want to use want to interchange all these products, and some of them are not meant to be used in the way the Kenyans want to use them. So basically, what we tell them is, guys, you have to read the product labels and use the product as it is written on the label, and that should be a minimum guide.
Maybe Mwangi, let me just be kind of the devil's advocate here. You've also been blamed because you mostly deal as a point of contact at your point of sale, and you just distribute maybe. You have been blamed of maybe the abuse or encouraging the abuse of pesticides. And right now our animals are kind of over-induced with antibiotics and all that, having a direct impact on health, and also the soils are sick because you don't know if exactly when you give this person this pesticide or this treatment for their crop or their animal, they're really going to follow the instructions to the letter. So what is the take on that you are also part of the problem, not the solution?
Yes, we've been told we are part of the problem, but one thing we have to agree is that farmers come knowing names of products, these are products which are already in the market. So there should be control at a higher level, because at the point when a product comes to the shop level, it means it has actually passed some different stages. Either it has been imported. There are very few. If there are any manufacturers of these pesticides in Kenya, there might be very few. So most of these products are actually imported. So meaning there is some standardization body which should have blocked these products before they get to our counters. The moment they get to our counters, let's not forget we are traders as much as we offer service. Is when in trading, what we asked for is what we provide to the farmer, and with the internet, with the availability of information, is that farmers are able to now know what they really want to use. We cannot control, as we advise, but mostly sometimes we are not able to control on how the product will be used at the farm level. But we really insist on them is that kindly, as much as possible, use the product as it's in the label, and that we should actually pressure and put so much on the organizations, that the other stakeholders, maybe PCPB, KEBS, and the people who are at the point of import, that they should be able to lock out some of these products, because once they're in the market, if they don't get it at my counter, they shall usually get it in another counter, they shall get it from briefcase people, and at some point then the devil will be everywhere.
Maybe finally, just briefly, do you want to say that most of the pesticides we have in the country are mainly imported and we do not produce in Kenya enough to supply all the farmers? Just briefly.
I would say most of the products we're using, especially we are agents of multinationals, we actually insist on using, from where we are working from us, we want to insist to farmers to use premium products. Why? We are seeing what is happening in the European markets. In the local markets, we are not getting the right information on ground. So we would rather use products which are European-based, because the standards there are not comparable to the standards there. We are facing products which are banned in the European markets, but they're readily available here. For us, I think we want to stick to the multinationals, because most of these companies are also in research and development, and with that we are thinking definitely their products are safer more than what is coming from the eastern side. But that is also coming in, and we are making it available to the people.
Thank you so much. That's just a sentiment from one of the point of contact between the farmers and the people. But where I am right now, we can really see the farmers coming in and out, getting the products, and they are being served. Other point of contact, the challenge is most of these products are imported, and also there's not much farmers education or even regulation as far as the way they should use this, the pesticides rather, is in their farms and all that. We are having challenges also in terms of trying to understand what pesticides are safe for us and even after use. And we also are hoping that this debate will also talk about organic pesticides and how they can help conserve the environment and also save our soils and also our animals, which are now maybe overpopulated or oversaturated with products and pesticides that maybe are not really safe for people at the end of the consumption chain. But Zainab, I do believe you have all the experts there in studio who are going to help us understand really why should we have this pesticide debate at this point in time.
Thank you, Bridget. Yes, the panel does have quite a bit of thoughts about what they've had there in Nakuru. But before they respond to that, we also have some farmers on standby in the county of Kisii with Janet Nyamwamu. Janet, what are the farmers saying about pesticides there?
Well, Zainab, here in Kisii, the people here are into agriculture so much, and whatever they plant or they rear, they consume, and some of the products they sell. And they are very concerned about what pesticides they should use, and they really want to be educated more on the pesticide. As I went around, I met a young farmer who is into agriculture and is going to tell us what he understands about the pesticide control. Start with you.
Okay, kwa majina mimi naitwa Agustin Luti Kimarube. I'm a young farmer, a fresh graduate from a university. So tuko na hii challenge ya pesticides. As you know, they need a lot of concern. First, you find some farmers, like my fellow farmers, wanatumia hizi drugs vinahitajiki. Some, they can double, and we have some measures that to be taken when you apply these pesticides. First, I will encourage our farmers to follow instructions that are written on the cover of the pesticides. They should read the instructions and the cautions. You'll find some of the farmers use excessive of it that will cause some damages or to the users outside there. Like the case last year, the KEFIS reports that for those who export some crops outside the country, there was excessive residue of those pests that were consumed in the farm, and that cost those exporters a lot because some of those crops were rejected to be exported. Kitu ya pili, unapata some farmers, they think that when they use excess of those pesticides or herbicides to the crops or to the animals, they will do away with the pests. I will encourage them, they should follow instructions so that isikue like ina cause some residues later and cause the exporters. Kitu ya pili, me as a farmer, I do daily and some crops in the nursery. There's an issue that raised some time back about banning of some pesticides, like in the European countries. A pesticide like Cariorify that was banned last year, I think it was nice tech because you find it's very hazardous to crops. But I was to encourage these companies, the government, before they ban some pesticides, they should come up with that idea less harmful to the pests and the users. For example, they should educate
So sad to lose that farmer there, and he's asking very important questions here. I've seen our panel taking notes. We will get a chance to respond to the questions raised by both in Nakuru and Kisii there. We also have some farmers in Rongo with Bernard Ojuang. Ojuang, what are the thoughts of the farmers over there?
Well, thank you very much, Zainab. We are here in Rongo, just as you've said. Remember, Migori County, that is in Rongo, Migori County, the main cash crop here is tobacco, sugarcane, and also food crop. We have maize. And of course, this is, when we talk of cash crop, tobacco, many farmers have been using pesticides, chemicals, at least to kill the pests. And of course, this has really endangered many lives here. Talk of children, even animals. And of course, with me here is one of the renowned farmers here in Migori County, Arende Chief, retired Chief Arende, who will be telling us some of the challenges they have been getting, and also his experience with pesticides. Join me here. You'll start with your name and tell me. You've been using pesticides. What are your experience with pesticides in the country since you started agriculture?
Yes, my name is retired Senior Chief Josiah Arende Ngoje, a farmer in Central Kamagambo location. Central Kamagambo location is in Rongo sub-county in Migori County. Allow me to start by telling you that in 1995, I was a farmer number 1 in Kenya under the category of small-scale category. And then from there, I was also recognized by many organizations, more so Vision Africa, that deals with the organic magazine that gives farmers information in Kenya and East Africa about organic farming.
When you talk of pesticide, we've been seeing farmers using pesticides. What is your experience with pesticides since you started agriculture?
There are almost 3 major issues. One, the one who is spraying, you breathe in, you inhale the chemicals that are in the pesticides. And many farmers have become sick because of that. 2, our ladies in the market, these days they buy pills from different areas of Kenya that are brought in our markets. And then you'll find that those mothers in the market will chop the kales without washing. Then our mothers, the women buy, they go and cook and they don't cook properly. That one is another area that affects us seriously. That's in a family at large, from children up to that top person, father or mother. Then the third one is now in farms. When we use these chemicals for spraying, even fertilizers that are made with chemicals, they also affect the farmers directly, indirectly. The instructions that are also given.
Okay. When you talk of, you had the government saying that they are planning at least to ban the use of pesticides. What do you think, in case we could have been given an opportunity, what kind of input can you put, maybe can you tell the people concerned?
You know, allow me to expand on chemicals that we use in our farms. Farming has been done up to the river bank. When the rain comes, it flows with those chemicals into the river. Then our rivers carry these chemicals to Lake Victoria. And as a result, the water hygiene is a big problem because of the farmers in the highlands in this region. Allow me to say that the chemicals that we use as farmers has caused a lot of effect on our crops, on our soils, because you know they are with chemicals. There are also some friendly insects that need to be in the soil.
What's the way forward?
The way forward is that we should go organic farming using the fertilizers from our animals, more so from the cows and from the poultry.
Well, thank you very much, Zainab. You've just heard from retired Chief Arende, one of the renowned farmer here in Migori County, saying that for a very long time, farmers in this region have been getting a lot of challenges, implications when we talk of health issues, and they are saying that the main way to go, the only way to go here is organic farming, where they will be using products, maybe manure more from their farm, at least to ensure that the food that they are consuming directly from the farm do not have chemicals. And also, you've just heard from him saying that most of the chemicals that they are using in the farm, they are going directly to the rivers, and that's where we get water, especially in rural areas, to drink. Thank you, Zainab.
Thank you, Juang. Interesting points raised by Senior Chief. I know Okisegere and Eric would like to address some of those issues raised. But before we do that, we'll go back to Paul, who was answering Claire's question. Peter, before who was answering Claire's questions.
Yeah, thank you. Let me finish off. There was an issue of a number of molecules that Claire raised. Let me take you through. Carbendazim, which he says is allowed in Kenya and has been banned elsewhere in the world. Let me put the correct position in mind. In the USA, approved for use, and you can take that to the bank. Australia, approved for use, you can also take that to the bank. Canada, approved for use, you can also take that to the bank. And in Kenya, we have 26 products that are registered for use containing carbendazim. And we've, just in reference to the situation in the EU, one of the applicants, the companies that was defending the product, requested the EU to be given more time to address studies. And they were given they requested up to 2013. This was studies below, they made the request in 2013. And they were given a maximum grace period as up to 31st May 2016, and the concern at that time for carbendazim in the EU was aerobic degradation in the soil, long-term risks to birds, and relevance of an impurity that was contained in. And because of what I've said of the change in the goalposts and the new criteria, there were some concerns that with that new criteria, it now moved it to mutagenic category 1B and reproductive toxicant category 1B. On carbofuran, Kenya has already made a decision. The process is just almost complete. We are banning it together with triclophon, so there's no issue there. On the other one that she mentioned, permethrin. Again, let me give you the factual position. Is in the USA, it is approved for use, and interestingly enough, the same product in the USA is also used in humans to control scabies. As we're speaking. In Australia, it's approved for use. In Canada, it's approved for use. Okay, and the WHO has approved the use of permethrin for public health. You find it for use in mosquito nets, the long-lasting insecticide nets.
Yes.
So it is a fallacy and it is incorrect that Kenya allows products that have been banned elsewhere to be used in Kenya. That is not correct. We need to correct that. And remember or remind ourselves, it's because the EU changed their criteria, for which we respect and we recognize. That's their own sovereignty, right, to classify in such a manner, and we respect that. But as a virtue of being the advantage to other people, they have come up with different criteria. Allow me to also introduce another angle to it, a very interesting angle, that a number of countries, 18 countries, including the Australia and Brazil, Canada, have petitioned the World Trade Organization that by EU changing that criteria, they have introduced a non-tariff barrier. And with your permission, allow me to read just an excerpt of what has been provided with the WTO. And this is very important for the Kenyans to realize. Let me just read it very quickly, with your permission, please. We are raising concerns in the Council for Trade in Goods because the EU has begun to implement measures that effectively prohibit the use of a number of substances that are required for safe and sustainable agricultural production have been assessed and authorized for use by many WTO members. The EU has moved forward with the implementation of its measures, which were first enacted in 2009, even though other members have over the years reportedly expressed concerns in the sanitary and phytosanitary and technical barriers to trade, TBT, committees regarding the overly restrictive impact of these measures on the trade of agricultural goods. In implementing these measures, it appears that the EU is unilaterally attempting to impose its own domestic regulatory approach on its trading partners. As a result, the EU is effectively prohibiting the use of critical tools to manage pests and resistance while damaging the livelihood of farmers beyond its borders, especially those in developing countries and LDCs. Agricultural production varies by region, and what works in Europe may not be appropriate in other climates and regions. To conclude, the EU's insistence that farmers around the world will find alternatives rings hollow for many of the EU's trading partners who know that in most cases viable alternatives simply do not exist, or in fact may carry higher risks to use than the substances effectively banned by the EU.
Okay.
This was filed in July 2019.
Okay.
I rest my case.
Okay, I know Claire has a follow-up question, but before we get to you, I'd like to go to Okisegere.
Yep.
Would you like to address some of the concerns raised in the field?
Yes, thanks, Zainab. One, the farmer in Kisii has mentioned the issues of residues that led into some rejection of our products. When we send our products to the EU, what happens normally is that the country that you send to is at liberty to sample and test. And periodically when they do sampling, like now our exports of beans into EU are subjected to 5% sampling,
yes,
mandatory sampling. And when they continue sampling, once in a while they pick, and when they pick it up, it is brought to us. So I know that in the last 6 months, there has never been any residue that has been indicated that has gone above the required limit and set by the EU, and that is a good indication. However, in terms of what the farmer, what the gentleman in Nakuru spoke and the farmer, it's about use, it's about education, and what we had said earlier. This is a continued public education that requires a concerted effort from all sides, because the label is very clear. But as the gentleman said, if the farmer thinks it needs a knockdown effect and went and increased the dosage, it has side effects, because on this other side, you're causing resistance. Next time you need to use either a different molecule, or you need to change, raise the in most cases we recommend that you use a different molecule to be able to address that challenge. The other thing that I've heard a farmer talk about, pesticide being pushed into the rivers, into the ocean, into the lake in Kisumu. Yes. It's not something that I want to say arbitrarily right or wrong. It still goes back to the capacity. And what we've said here is that the first reference point that we tell farmers, we tell our traders, we tell our partners, anybody who's in this value chain, is the first reference point is the product label. The product label addresses the date of manufacturer, the date of expiry, the date the product was brought in, the quantities that you need to use in terms of the rates. It tells you the disposal, it tells you the re-entry. It gives you basically, including the first aid procedures in an event of an accident.
Yes.
So that's a very elaborate thing. How then the farmer uses it is what we need to agree. And I want to make it clear here also, that agriculture is a science. And this is where I disagree with most people. When you get in and say, do this, do this, do this, remember, when it comes to pharmaceuticals, you are given a prescription. And you must follow a prescription. If you're supposed to take a tablet in the morning and another tablet in the evening, you don't take 2 tablets in the morning. It is the same thing that's happening here. It's about information and using that information correctly. Then there is an issue of protection, which was used. When you're using any pesticide, and I like the way Opio said. Opio said clearly, and Claire has also said it's class this, class this. Every product globally is classified from class 1 to class 4. And there's a prescription on how to use that product if you must use it. There are conditions for use. For example, even in class 1, you must have that company representative, or somebody must be there to help you in applying. But when it comes to the protective clothes, the minimum we recommend is that one has to have a helmet or a hat. If you're using a product that is beyond your head, you must have gloves, you must have a mouth mask, you talk about goggles, then you talk about an overall, and you talk about gumboots. Those are minimum, and they're all clearly put on each label in Swahili and in English. So I would want to reinforce here that other than us caring the public and the stakeholders, let's be factual and give out the correct information without having to demonize pesticides. And so that I hand it over to Ori. It should also be noted clear here that plant protection products are contributing up to 40% of our food production. If you remove the plant protective protection products today, if you remove them today, first of all, we go hungry. We will not be food secure. And I like the way people say, let's use organic.
Yes.
That farmer has mentioned the issue of using animal fertilizer.
Yes, animal
Let me
manure.
tell you, the animal does not manufacture fertilizer. The output of the manure that comes out is a result of what that animal ate.